G'day, welcome to Curl's Corner. If you're new here, welcome aboard. If not, welcome back. In today's video, I am going to be running through the build of our fish tanks for the aquaponic system. If you haven't seen the other aquaponic build videos so far, feel free to check them out. We've got the grow bed sitting just outside that door. Anyway, we'll go for a trip back in time to the start of this build and we will see you there. Alright, so that's been a little while since we've been working on the aquaponics. I think the last video I put up was back in October and we're now just coming into April, so it's been all but 6 months. Anyway, you can see we're just coming out of summertime with all the hairy panic on the ground at the bottom of these fish tanks. I am going to plumb these things up and get the filter and stuff going and all that stuff in this video, but first I just want to give a quick clean up, get rid of this hairy panic and also level up these tanks. So I'll get into that now and we'll be back in a sec. Righto, well I've got most of that hairy panic cleaned up. I've got these roughly leveled off. I have just basically laid out this manifold and the outlet pipes from these tanks. Not exactly sure how they were put together. During the last build, it wasn't my build. We got these all secondhand and they were pulled apart when we got them. So going to try and sort of wing it, make it work. What I'll do now is I'll flip these tanks over, put these outlets in and then put them back down and see if I can make them join up to that manifold. Righto, so a few of you guys with a keen eye might have realised that there have been a few changes, especially down this end. I'll quickly run through what I've got up here to start with, so just to sort of have a bit of a recap. I've got these 3 tanks all set up. They all have their own individual tap. All the outlets coming out of these are 50mm. Most of them are using pressure pipe, but there are a few little bits of stormwater pipe as well for a few different reasons. Each of them come down through one of these barrel unions. So essentially what a barrel union is a fitting that you can put 2 bits of pipe together and you don't need to twist the whole bit of pipe around to be able to get one off. I haven't got any spares of those, but I have got a couple of these little fittings which are like, they work in a similar principle. So if you've got those 2 bits of pipe there stuck together, it just means you've got this collar with an O-ring of sorts that's set to seal it rather than thread tape. So you've got that on there and then you can just screw that collar rather than having to screw the whole bit of pipe around to be able to tighten and loosen them. So they are really, really handy. I'd recommend either getting something like that or the barrel unions. Barrel unions are the better way to go, but they are a bit more expensive. Anyway, we've got those in there. And then over here for the 4th tank, it was going to sit over here, but then I figured it was going to restrict our movement outside a little bit too much. So what I've done is I've moved it, I've changed this plumbing around a little bit to make it so that's going to be the tap for the 4th tank. And then going to have a couple of these 45 sitting here. So it's going to be over there. Keep the tanks all a little bit closer together. There'll still be a walkway to get in to the middle of where the tank area is to be able to get to all 4 tanks in the one spot. It's also going to make it a little bit easier when we do plumb up the intakes to them. So from outside, from the sump, it's going to pump up into this tank up here. And then I'm going to have some biomedia in there, have that as a bit of a biofilter, and then from there it's going to drop down into these 4 tanks. So yeah, I've done that. I've also, in the last little while, I've taken a few buckets of water from outside and filled these tanks, these 3 tanks. All those fittings to the 3 tanks are open, so they're all using the same water at the moment, and I've got these 2 here both shut. So I'll fill those up, not really any purpose other than doing a leak test. At the moment, there's nothing in the bottom of these tanks, but I am going to put a solids lifting outlet in each of those tanks, probably, yeah, at a later date. It's not going to happen today. Anyway, I just want to quickly show you what I was going to do with this tank. That'll go there, somewhere like that, just to give you a bit of an idea of how they're all going to sit. What I'm doing now, before doing that, I'll just quickly turn you guys around a little, is I'm focusing on this bit of plumbing over here. So that one there is the main outlet tap for the 4 tanks. They've got their own individual taps, and then this is one that controls all 4. It then comes down through here into this 90mm, or down from 50mm up to 90mm stormwater pipe, and that's going to go outside to our sump. I have also put a T-piece with just a cap on it, so I can take that cap off and let the water out of there if need be. I figure this is probably going to be about the lowest pressure point. There's going to be a little bit of an eddy in there, seeing as though it's going from the 50mm up to the 90mm. And yeah, it just seems like a pretty logical place to drain it down if we ever need to. So that's that. At the moment, I'm going to run outside and do the rest of the plumbing of that 90mm pipe to the sump, and then I'll come back in here. So anyway, join me outside and yeah, we'll see you in a sec.
So we just plumbed this all up from inside the shed out here from them holes, and it comes along into the aquaponics. It's all glued. It goes down into there.
There you go, it goes without saying. Should let him do all the bloody talking, eh? So yeah, essentially just plumbed it up from inside the shed into the aquaponics. I did notice though, as I was doing it, these holes are 90mm, and I'm obviously gonna have to get water from here back into there. But it is gonna be through 1.25" pipe. So I've sort of got the plumbing coming in the front of them just to make it more room inside. But anyway, we'll get into that. What are you doing, mate?
Covering up the pipe so we don't have to see it anymore.
Covering up the pipes, you don't have to see it anymore. Perfect. All right, we'll get this done and we'll see you back inside. Righto, I've got a tiny bit of daylight left. I haven't got any lights or permanent power or anything in the shed yet, so that is a bit of an issue that we're gonna need to address at some point. Anyway, the last little thing that I wanted to get done today, while I have got a little bit of light left, is getting this 4th tank set up. So, as I mentioned before, it has got its own little coupling in here, which I'll be able to use in a minute to get it set up where I want it to be. But yeah, for now I'm gonna need to tip the tank over and put it over here. Righto, so I've got that pretty well where I want it. I'll pull it all back apart, chuck some glue on it, chuck a bit of thread tape on there, and the 4th tank should be right to fill and do a bit of a leak check on. Alrighty, so we've found ourselves into a new day. I'm about to hook up the biofilter up here, but I thought before I do that, I want to get these filling up because it's going to take the most amount of time. But before I do that, I want to add in our standpipes for the solid lifting outlets that are going to be going in these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these little, I don't know what you call them, little converter or whatever you want to call that little bit there. It's just got a male thread and a female thread, just to make it that I'm going to now struggle to get those in there for now. And then when they are in, I'm going to be able to put in that standpipe nice and easily and change the height or change the length or whatever I want to do later on down the track if I do want to change the height of the water that's in there. Righto, so I've had a bit of a think about how I'm wanting to plumb the outlet of this biofilter up. I'll do the inlet a bit later. I sort of want to try and work backwards. Also, the outlet is the stuff that's going to have glued fittings, and I want to give it time to go off before I fill this tank up. You can see there's one outlet from a previous build already drilled in there, so I'll utilise that, and then I'm going to put another 3 on this side as well. Rather than plumbing them directly, like one outlet per tank, I'm actually going to get those outlets all coming down into a common pipe down the bottom here, which is going to be 90mm pipe. And then from there I'm going to plumb it off into the separate tanks. Righto, we've got all the little outlets in. I've also put some thread tape on these outlet fittings, and they're all set in there ready to go. What I'm going to do now is just do a dry fit of our little down pipes we're going to have on there. And then once I've done the dry fit, I'll mark them off with a texter where they're going to be, and I can take them down and glue them on. What I've got from coming down there, I've got those little couplings on there, and then I've just got another straight bit of pipe, which I'm going to then glue down into a reducer and straight up into that manifold. So that's going to sort of look something a little bit like that. And so I can do the dry fit of all of that stuff, and then this here is where it's going to break apart and be able to put back together when we do it. So we'll get into that, and we'll just about be able to fill the media filter up. All right, so I've done the dry fit of that manifold. I've also taken it apart, glued it all up, so just waiting for it to go off. Figure I may as well take the next half hour or so to put the inlet into this biofilter in. So much the same as the outlet, I've got rather than using a tank fitting, I've got a bulkhead fitting for this one. And I'm going to sit it like that, and then that's going to go in there, back down to that 1.25", which will be the poly pipe going up. There's quite a few bits and pieces here. Would generally try and streamline that a bit, but these are all bits that I had lying around, so there's not much point going and spending more money to save money, if that makes sense. Anyway, tank fitting is going to go up with the male on the outside, and then on the inside I'm going to have the inlet going into the tank itself. And yeah, I'm going to make the inlet come down so that it's putting the water mostly in through the bottom, so it's got time to go through and churn through the that media before coming out through the top. Yeah, may as well get into this and then we'll put that manifold on. Righto, so much the same as with that manifold up there. With these outlets, I put them together, did a dry fit, marked them all up. So you've got some markings all over the place. And then took them down and glued them. That was a couple of days ago. Now all that PVC cement's all cured and gone off, so she's nice and hard, should be ready to go. Just need to put them in place where they're gonna go. That one's gonna go in there. And I've got this other one over here, which will go in there, something like that. So I'll get them done now, and then we'll be able to hook up the pump to that biofilter, and then be able to start filling it up and get some water running. Righto, that's that part of the project done. Obviously gonna take that tape off probably sometime tomorrow, maybe the day after, give it a bit of time to go off, and also not gonna get any water running through these until then. What I'm gonna do now is run out the back of this biofilter, and yeah, we'll finish plumbing up that inlet hose to it and plumb the pump up into the sump. See you out there. So I've got our pump set up, ready to go. That's gonna sit in the sump, something like that, and then come out to here, go into an 1.25 inch poly pipe, and that'll go inside. If you have seen the grow bed setup video, you would have heard me talk about this pump before. It's the Jabeo DCP 10,000. It's a 10,000 litre an hour at 0 head DC pump. It is rated for a 6 metre head. But yeah, we've got probably about a 2 metre head in there, and I think that's going to bring it down to about 6,000 litres an hour. So ideally, I'd like each of those fish tanks to be turning over probably 3 times an hour, and I'm going to get about 1.5 times out of this. It'll be enough to get us going. We'll see how I go. And yeah, we'll be able to sort of test the flow rate and stuff anyway and see if I need to get another pump or a bigger pump or a different pump. I've left the original coupling that came on it, and then just put the rubber coupling, which is 1.5 to 1.5 inches, up to 1.5 inches PVC pipe, and then from the 1.5 inch down to 1.25 inches, which is the 32mm poly pipe that's going to go through. So we'll run it through, get it hooked up inside, and then we'll do the pump. All right, it's probably one of the stranger angles you'll find me in, but I just wanted to be able to show you, behind where I'm sitting is the 3 holes that go through the shed, and I've got that pipe going in there. I've got our pump, so I'll chuck that in here now. Hopefully I can get it in with the way that this grow bed is sitting on this sump, and then I'll be able to get that poly pipe in there now too. All right, that's that part done. The last thing I've got to do before I can put media in that biofilter is I've got to put put an inlet pipe in there so that no media goes back through, but it lets the water out and also spreads the water out down the bottom. I'll show you what I mean. We'll go inside and plumb that stuff up, and I reckon we'll just about be able to kick her in the guts. So as you can see from the top of this tank, I haven't used it for quite some time. It's been sitting here for the last welcome swallow season, so there's a bit of swallow turtle over it, and yeah, no shortage of dust. But you're not going to see it. I'm going to put a cover over it, and it's not going to be an issue. Anyway, onto the task. I've got this bit of pipe. It was a drain pipe out of a grow bed that I had a U-siphon hooked up to. Not going to use it anymore, so that's going to go in down the bottom, something like that, and then hook up to there. And then I've got the other outlets from this filter on the other side up near the top. So yeah, hopefully it'll flow in through here, come down, flow in through the bottom, and then get plenty of time to churn around and let the water mingle with the bacteria. So we'll hook that up now and fill it up with some media, and then I think we'll just about be able to turn the pump on. I'm not sure if you could see, I probably should have mentioned it before. I've got a T-piece that's going to have the inlet, and then I've got the T part of the T-piece facing sort of up or up at an angle. It is coming up into that side of the tank, so if it does spray water out, it's going to spray out and back in rather than spraying out through the top. I've got it that way just so that if I do turn the pump off, it's not going to siphon this whole tank back out into the sump. It'll keep the water at that sort of level there. So just to keep that in mind, T-pieces are bloody handy for that sort of thing, often used in sort of solid lifting outlets and that type of thing as well, just so that you've got some air getting in through the top of whatever system it is or whatever plumbing it is, to save you from siphoning out. All right, so I'll show you a quick look here from the other side. You can see I've got the inlet coming in from that direction, in through down the bottom, and then those are the 4 outlet pipes going down to that manifold outside. Going to put our air stones in down the bottom there now, and then fill it up with media and go from there. Just in time, I've got my little helper. I'll chuck him in there. Now, what we've got to do, mate, is hop down there. We need to spread them all around the bottom of the tank.
These?
Yep. All right, well, kiddos just helped me put the air stones up in the biofilter. I've got this old biofilter out of an old build, about 3/4 full of media. It's not the lightest stuff, but it's definitely not the heaviest stuff. It is quite dry. It's been a couple of years since it's been used, so there's no water in that to lift up. I'll see if I can haul it up on the side of one of these fish tanks and chuck it up into the new filter. Right, we've had a slight change of plans. Kiddo's decided he's not done helping. So, what we might do, mate, I might chuck you up there again. Yeah. And then I'll get these bizzos out of here and pass them up and you can tip them in. All right, I've got the 4 standpipes in. I've got that bit of media that I've got for the biofilter in there. Everything's all plumbed up. The pump is plumbed up. All these outlets are plumbed up. I've taken the tape off and put a couple of little supporting pieces on these 2 pipes. So I think I'm ready to go. I'll run outside now and go chuck that water on. And then I'll give you a quick look inside that biofilter as it's filling up. And then, yeah, we'll wait for it to fill up and see if we can get it running. Righto, so this biofilter's starting to fill up. I'll just do a quick leak check while we're here. As you can see, there's nothing coming out of the top of that T-piece there yet, which is good. I suspect that when there is a bit more water in this biofilter and a little bit more back pressure, it probably will have a little water coming out through the top, but at the moment it's working like I'm wanting to. Filling up there fairly quickly. No leaks anywhere down here. That's where it's coming through down the bottom. So yeah, we'll give it a little bit more time. It shouldn't take too long, and should start coming out through the bottom. Alright, so we've got water flowing. It's all looking pretty good. I haven't opened the bottom of these up yet, so I'm going to go do that now and go check the level of the sump as well. And yeah, let it flow through, and then I'll come in here and start to adjust these ball valves and see if I can get them all flowing about the same. I've just opened that drain tap up for them. That's our new pump, and that's the grow bed pump down the bottom. She's emptied the sump out quite a bit, but it'll start to fill up there now, and I'll put some more water in from the dam a bit later on as well. All right, so I've had the tanks running now for a couple of weeks. Those are the keen eye might have noticed I've got some media in a fish tank. Not ideal, but also not terribly surprising. I've got one of the outlet fittings in the top of that media tank, which is one of these stink bite fittings. But what I've done is I've cut every second one of these little fins off. I can't remember exactly what the purpose of it was in the other build, but anyway, it's obviously not fit for purpose for here. Essentially ended up sucking the smaller bits of media into that manifold and then out through. Luckily, most of it's made it into this tank. The other tanks all seem to be pretty clear of it. What I did after it started getting in here is I put this shroud in. So the shroud is much the same as the shroud on the standpipe in the bell siphons. Just got a couple of slits at the bottom so I can suck water in from the bottom. But otherwise, if I haven't got the shroud on, that happens. And yeah, I'll let it go. So that happens there, lets all that media go straight down and out into our sump. So that's what the other half's doing there now, is just getting the media out of the sump into this one. Just because it's going to be a lot easier to transfer it out of here up to there once I put that other fitting in. So anyway, little lesson learned, but yeah, not the end of the world really. I was just wanting to get the media in there, get it working, and go from there. Alrighty, well, that media has been taken out of the fish tanks and put up in the biofilter where it belongs. Everything's sort of working as it should be. Plenty of air getting up in that biofilter when the air pump's turned on. It's a bit noisy. Fish tanks are all running smoothly. I do need to make up a few more of these shrouds. I've only got the one made up for now for those solid lifting outlets. But yeah, other than that, we're right to get fish. So hopefully you can sort of stick around with me for the next couple of weeks. And that's right, we'll go for a drive and pick up some fish. What do you reckon? Oh. Righto, we'll see you then. Cheers.